Once upon a time, there lived a girl named Adunni. Adunni lived in a very big kingdom in the south, and she was a very sickly girl, always weak and unable to do things that her mates could do. Whilst other girls in the village would go to the stream, Adunni was confined to her house as she was too sickly to walk long distances. This made Adunni so sad as she wondered what she had done to deserve this kind of life. One hot afternoon, Adunni stood outside her hut, barefoot, as she looked into the sun. With tears in her eyes, Adunni spoke to the earth as her feet penetrated the hot sand. She asked the earth to strengthen her legs so that she could be able to walk long distances like her mates. Then she looked up to the sun and asked the sun to energize her body so that she would be able to do the things her mates could do. Adunni was not prepared for what happened next as an eagle began to descend from the sky. It was a sight Adunni had never seen before, as the eagle was so big with sparkling eyes. The eagle landed on her shoulder, and Adunni was startled as she had never seen such an eagle in her life. Then Adunni heard the eagle speak, and he said to her, "Pluck a feather from my back and wield it wherever you go, and your strength will forever be renewed." Adunni was in shock as she wondered if this was all a dream. She immediately did as the eagle had instructed. She plucked a feather from its back, and immediately the eagle flew away back into the sky. Adunni was still amazed at what just happened when suddenly she felt strengthened. Her legs and body were now energized, and Adunni knew for sure that her prayers had been answered. She glanced at the feather in excitement and slid it into her pocket. Adunni then ran to grab a bucket and headed straight for the village stream. Adunni was so happy, and she thanked God for answering her prayer so swiftly. She could not believe that she was going to the stream to fetch water for the first time in her life. Her joy was indescribable as she walked towards the stream. On getting there, Adunni met some of the village girls fetching some water. They were all shocked to see Adunni by the stream and wondered if she came to the stream to fetch some water by herself. "Is that not Adunni, the sickly girl?" asked one of the village girls as they all watched to see how Adunni would lift the bucket of water alone. Adunni was known all around the village as the weak and sickly girl, and the village girls would usually mock her and laugh at her. Seeing Adunni at the stream today shocked them all, as Adunni not only walked a long distance to the stream, but she also fetched her water and lifted the bucket to her head without any assistance. The girls could not believe their eyes, so they hurriedly filled their own buckets so that they would be able to walk behind Adunni to see if she would be able to carry the water back home, as it was a really long distance. One of the girls even went on to place a bet with the other girls that Adunni would not be able to carry the bucket of water halfway through the journey. But she was wrong, as Adunni not only carried the water home, but she also repeated the journey 5 more times. When Adunni's family noticed what had happened, they were all amazed and thanked God for granting Adunni strength. Not long after, news of Adunni's great strength spread around the village, and people began to troop to Adunni's house to see for themselves. One day, Adunni was walking back home from the farm when she heard screams coming out from a hut not too far away from the bush path. She snuck towards the hut and saw a very huge man throwing some punches at his slender-looking wife. Adunni was furious and ran towards the man. She lifted him up from behind and threw him to the ground, holding him firmly with one hand. The huge man struggled to get himself loose from Adunni, but could not, as her strength overpowered him. At this point, some villagers had gathered and witnessed what had happened between Adunni and the huge man. Not long after, the king's guard summoned Adunni to the king's palace, as what she had done to the man was considered a taboo in the village. No woman dares to challenge a man in the village, talk more of overpowering him, as this was considered a taboo because men in the village were seen as powerful beings, demigods in other words. Adunni was now before the king and several other elders, who were furious and astonished at how a woman could be so strong. The king spoke to Adunni, saying, "News of your extraordinary strength has reached me, and I have brought you here to ask where your strength comes from." Adunni replied the king, saying, "My strength is from the gods, who filled me with the strength of the earth and sun through a powerful eagle." Everyone opened their mouths in shock and began to murmur, but Adunni was unaware of why they were murmuring. In the kingdom, legend has it that only one man in the kingdom has been able to see the great eagle of strength, and that man went down in history as the strongest man that ever lived in the land. A man that was able to single-handedly kill the evil snake of destruction, a very powerful and dangerous snake. Now, everyone was afraid, even the king, as it has been said that when next the great eagle appears, the village should prepare for the coming of the evil snake of destruction. The evil snake of destruction is a very big and powerful snake, and it can only take the strength of the eagle to defeat it. Legend has it that whenever the evil snake is to attack the kingdom, the great eagle emerges to choose one person from the village worthy of its power, who would use the eagle's strength to defeat the snake. It is not everyone that is capable of accommodating the power of the eagle, as the eagle only appears to its chosen one. However, if the chosen one is unable to defeat the evil snake, the snake will take over the kingdom and kill all its inhabitants. Now the whole village was in fear, as the fate of the kingdom now lay in the hands of Adunni, the once weak and sickly girl. So the king ordered that Adunni be locked up inside the village cave, as the evil snake was said to have always emerged from the cave in the past. Adunni, after hearing this, was filled with so much fear, as this was not what she had bargained for. All Adunni wanted was to be filled with strength to be able to do what her mates were capable of doing, and not to defeat the evil serpent. Shivers ran down her spine as her imagination began to run wild. Adunni was then locked up in the cave alone, and the entrance to the cave sealed according to the king's instructions. Days passed, and Adunni was still locked up in the cave. There were no screams or fights, and the people began to wonder if Adunni had defeated the evil snake or not. The king then ordered the guards to open the cave, as they needed to know if Adunni was still alive and if the evil snake had been defeated. The guards, filled with so much fear, opened up the cave, and what they saw shocked them. Adunni was lying still on the ground, surrounded by an extremely big snake. The snake was dead, and Adunni was still alive, but could not move as she was extremely weak. What happened was that when Adunni was about to kill the snake, the evil snake destroyed her eagle's feather as Adunni was about cutting off its head. This happened at almost the same time, so as the snake was dying, Adunni's strength too was depleting. The guards carried Adunni out of the cave as the villagers began to cheer her in excitement. Whilst the villagers were jubilating and referring to Adunni as their hero, Adunni was extremely sad, as she never imagined that she would lose her strength in the process. There were claps of jubilation and celebration as everyone in the village brought out gifts for Adunni to thank her for saving their village from the evil snake. The king also gave Adunni so many treasures and lands, and Adunni's family became well respected and rich in the village. When Adunni got home, she had lost her strength, and the thought of remaining a sickly girl all her life brought tears to her eyes when she suddenly realized that her strength was returning to her body. Adunni felt even more powerful than before, as she now had the combined power of the serpent and the eagle. This happened at the time when Adunni killed the snake and lost her feather, as the both powers penetrated into her body at that magical moment. Adunni then made history as the strongest woman that ever lived in the village, and all the girls in the village respected her. The lesson to be learned from this story is that we should learn not to write people off because of their situations, as no situation in life is permanent. Treat people with respect and never look down on people or make mockery of them because of their condition, as the rejected stone, they say, can oftentimes become the cornerstone. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It helps us grow our channel. I'll see you in our next story. Bye.